Okay, welcome back, guys. So I'm going to start kind of adding some folded details to this. I kind of add some like some deformation of foldable cloth or leather wrinkle details on these boots before moving on to the next thing. So let me just make sure it's selecting that boots now. Okay, so I would think I would let me just add some more resolution to this so I have more resolution to work with. Probably get this up to around a million polygons. So let me just subdivide this a few times. Okay, 2 million seems fine. Then I'll create a new layer for this. And I'm going to be storing everything I'm going to do now in this on this layer. So let me go to the lower subdivision level. Then I want to try to move things out a bit. Let me even go to the lower subdivision level. I'm like since the trousers are going to be entering these boots, I need to kind of have some kind of broad spacing around here for the trousers to actually go in. So I'm going to let me use the rectangular lasso, rectangular max 2. I'll max this out. So I'll go to the lowest subdivision level and I'll blur out this marks. I'll invert the selection. Then I'll just scale. Let me just center this like so. Hold out and kind of center this. I want to kind of space this out like so. And just bring that back in. Maybe expand it this way and this way, then I'll just push it back in. Yeah, something like this should be fine. Let me just check the spacing I have in there. And I can still use my move brush. Probably even push this out a bit more. Yeah, like that should be fine. That should be fine. I'll go out of the max. Let me just something like this should be fine. Now just try to start fixing some of this intrusion we have in here. Just try to eliminate that. I don't want this inner feet to be poking out like so. Okay. So let me go to a much higher subdivision level. Let me use the boot as a reference guide now to begin to work on this a bit more. I want to kind of check just to make sure there are the feet itself is not poking out of this. Because we have one in here, so let me just probably even use the clay builder brush and then just fill that up and smooth this back down. I'm working on symmetry on this just to speed things up. Let me just get this at an angle. That's way too much. Let me go to a much higher subdivision level and do this here. Take up the brush size. No, that doesn't seem to be working correctly. Let me use the clay builder brush instead. I need to turn off lazy mouse on this. That's way too intense. That's way too intense. Okay. That's just way too intense. Let's move this back down. Let's move this also. Okay. Let's blend that back in. I'm just kind of adding some kind of displacement, some deformation displacement in here, so the boot doesn't feel too even all around. Okay. I'll just move that back in. Okay. Notice there's some kind of, I don't know if you can see, let me look for a better example for this. Feels like this part of the, all the way this part of the boot is kind of coming out, like probably like a seam line around there. So I want to try to create something similar in there. Let me solo this first. I could do something like, let me do something that goes across. Like this. Now kind of eliminates something. Okay, no. Let me eliminate some of these holding parts. Something like so. Okay. Shift F. I want this to affect only this part. So let me just invert the selection and remove the marks in here. So it should be affecting just this. I don't know if I did that. Let me undo. So I'll just drag Alt to eliminate that. Okay, yeah, better now. So I want this to be affecting only this, like so. Just this poly group in front. I think I should have done this. Should have done this on a higher subdivision level instead. But this doesn't this doesn't feel neat enough. This is not so neat in the higher subdivision level. Let me do that again. So Shift F. So just this poly group we need. Then I can something like so. Yes, now I have something a bit sharper now. I'll invert the selection. I think. Let me invert the selection. So I'm going to kind of do something like a, let's see, deformation, like an inflating here. No, outward instead. No, that's way too much. That's still way too much. I don't want something that high. Probably -1 should be just fine. Yeah, something like this should work just fine. Let me bring everything back out. Okay. Then I can use the standard brush. Can we use the standard brush to just push this out? No, that's way too intense. Let me take down the intensity for this. I also need to smooth that, kind of fix all this jagged edge in there. So let's try a smooth, or rather a polish rather. Maybe I'll just do this by hand instead. Let me just do this by hand. This is better. So this is like more or less act like a seam line. So I'm just smoothing this out. I might still even use a seam line in there, a seam brush, to kind of make that feel more defined. So I can raise that now. Okay. Okay, let's try the dem standard brush and kind of dig in between there. Yeah, much better. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're guessing this particular boot was done by hand, so there's no actual factory machinery involved in this. So this being done by hand should have some measure of irregularities. Okay, I think this should work just fine. Probably even a smaller brush. Take down the smaller, using a smaller brush size instead now. Probably want to dig in even more. Though these parts are not going to be visible, but let's just have something in there regardless. Okay, that's fine. I'll do the same for the back side too. Alright. Okay, that's fine. So I think, let me just go out of solo mode and be sure if there's no intrusion. Alright, that's fine. I'm going to start, I need to tighten this up even a bit more. So B should be the paint brush PI. So using the paint brush now, increase the brush size. Let me take down the brush size even more. Let me solo this. I want to tighten in there. Though not too tight though. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to create another layer that will we can use to kind of add some more. Okay, let's get CSS that we can use to add some more detailing in there. So I'll do like, I'll create a new, let me just name this to base same details. Okay, that's fine. You can see some wrinkle detail in there now. You can see some wrinkle details on the boots. But there's still a lot we can still do in here, but once you just layer them on top of themselves one after the other, it will begin to make better sense later on. Okay, so I'll create a new layer for this. On this layer, I can start adding some wrinkle detail in there. So going to the lower subdivision level, I can build this from the lower subdivision level. Just wait, okay. Let me go out of solo mode so I can actually see how this is affecting the boots. That's way too intense. Smooth is way too high. Basically adding some irregularities in the on the surface. Clay brush seems to be acting weird. Seems to be acting really weird. Probably maybe I'm supposed to close Zbrush and open it again because the clay brush is acting very weird. Let me try this on freehand. Okay. Yeah, much better now. Let me continue the dem standard brush for this. Okay, let me just fix this. I need to push this out. Okay, back to this guy. Just smooth this out. Okay, I'm still going to break in symmetry for this, but just to make things a bit faster, I'm just continue working on symmetry mode turned on. I'm just kind of adding some kind of folded wrinkle detail in there as a base. I'm still going to be refining this a bit more later on. Okay, so I think in this part I'm going to turn off symmetry now, then work on them individually. So kind of adding some sharper ones to continue this on. I'm even also holding out to kind of dig in also. Take down the brush side, that's a bit of sharper ones. Then holding out to dig, let me just accentuate some of this. Then holding out, I can kind of tighten them a bit more. Not everything though, but just a few of them. Now it feels to like a pattern. I'm still going to use the move brush to kind of make them uneven. So with the move brush now, I'll kind of make some of them a bit saggy. This one just feels way too much on this edge. This one is just too, let me increase the brush size a bit more and eliminate some of those. Okay. Let me go to the higher subdivision level. Let's see how this turned out. So I'm using the dem standard brush now. Let me go to lower subdivision level and use the dem standard brush to kind of make this feel more interesting. The smooth brush is way too intense. Okay. So let me move to the other one now. Probably shouldn't have too much wrinkle detail at the back of the leg. So this part feels like it's a bit tighter to the skin compared to the other parts. Okay. Might even need to smooth some of this out. It should be fine. Okay, so in the next lesson we can go in and create this additional attachments to it. It's like another kind of clothing on top of it, this particular piece. You can actually create that. Then any other wrinkle detail we need to create will be after we've added this rope on it. So for now, this can serve as a base. Can even decide to tone this down if I feel it's too intense. Can only be like something like so. Since this will be like the under part, it's not going to be too visible. That should feel fine. Let me create that again. I think I need to do one more stuff in here. You can see some kind of sharp wrinkle detail in here. With the damn standard brush, I can do something like so. I'll refine that later on though, but let me just have something in there. Okay. Let me go to a lower subdivision level for this. Now select this part with the move brush. Let me move this out. Or maybe selecting this one, maybe I'll just push this back in instead. Select this guy and just move them back in place. Something like that should be fine. Okay, so in the next lesson we can create this other leather on top of it, or this clothing material on top of it. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson.